They said the war was over. But I got home, and the war had just begun. My name's Thomas Mazuko, and I'm coming to kick your ass.
Yo, what's up? My name's Matt Whiteside, and this is Honest, Ridiculous Book Reviews by Matt Whiteside. I already said that. But anyway, so this is my book review of Andrew McDonald's Punishment and Good Deeds. And if you can't tell, I kind of got into the book a little bit. I did wear face paint the entire time I read this book. I want to say this because this is the genre that I read the most. I would say thriller, action thriller type. In a lot of ways, this reminded me of a Lee Child's Jack Reacher, but with more of a family and definitely more family involvement here. But man, the intensity. All right, so the intensity was turned up to about 11 on this in terms of like the visceralness and the nature of which Thomas Mazuko, the main character, goes about handing out punishment to the people who do some pretty bad things to his family. And I don't want to give too much away, but so the story starts out in the prologue. You know, he's in prison. So because of a good deed gone wrong on Thomas's part, he ended up in prison. And so we find that out. And it's like this series of unrelenting, horrible deeds, more deeds, that happen along the way that it's just like, holy crap, can you... I mean, to me, it was so... where, like, you know, Thomas Mazuko starts out, he's trying to do the right thing and for the right reasons, but based off of something that happened to him a long time ago, and you know, a past event that dictated the way he went about doing the good deed at the present, and ended up getting him in hot water. And you see that as a kind of a theme throughout. And it's one of the things I really loved about this book was that every character, good, bad, or indifferent, and even small roles, like everybody seemed to have a fully fleshed out character with multiple different like these they had their backstories completely filled in to where you knew exactly why they were making the decision they were making, why they were doing what they were doing. And it's like these fully understood and realized characters that you don't get to see a lot in just one book. Like typically it takes a long time to build that out. Andrew did an amazing job of giving all these characters flesh and blood, you know, turning them into human beings. And that's one of the things I love so much about it, because I was able to relate not just with the Thomas Mazuko, the main character, the protagonist, the hero of the story. I was able to relate with the menacing, terrible, horrible bad guys in the story because of how they grew up, what happened to them. Like, you see the breaking points, you see the things that made them into who they were, and then it's not that you are okay with the things they do because of it, but it's that you see why they make the decisions that they make now, like where the fork in the road led them. And I'm sure it's in other books. Like, I read a ton of these type of books, but it's just seeing this in Punishment and Good Deeds that Andrew did such a phenomenal job of writing these characters, and so that every single action was based off a previous action or a previous result to an action. And it was really refreshing to see. I was engrossed with the whole story. I read the book, believe it or not, in 3 days. I loved the story. You see Thomas Mazuko, you know, trying to do the right thing. He's a karate instructor. He's got these kids that believe in him. He wants to teach them to defend themselves. He was a kid that was bullied, so he's wanting to defend himself as well. And he grows up to be in the military, army brat. He he learns karate, and then he starts teaching. He's a 3rd-degree black belt, so he's a badass. Smoking hot wife. he's got a daughter, and maybe more. And then there are these other characters that you get involved with, like Peter and Barbara. And then you got, the Valdez, the bad guy, who he's a really good businessman, and he seems like he doesn't do the evil stuff. He's got multiple people that does all the evil stuff for him, but he is definitely dirty and evil on his own right. Like, the stuff that happens to these poor innocent characters, you see these very innocent characters and these horrible things that happen to them, and you're just like, oh my god. But it's what happens in real life, and painting these innocent characters and showing that they're just human beings and bad crap happens to humans all the time. Andrew did a really good job of making this book seem extremely realistic to me. There were some scenes in there where my stomach was just like, oh, because I could, like, the visceral nature in which he went into detail about some of the torture, and then some of the detail he went into with some of the sex scenes was like, wow, this is incredible. And there's so many things I like about the book. It's hard to pinpoint one of them. I talked about so many things that I did like. The storyline is one of vengeance. Thomas Mazuko is trying to make things right. He's trying to protect his family, and he has no choice really but to do what he does and go after Valdez. And you see why, but you also see him where he starts to lose himself a bit. Or at least this is how I took it. He started to lose himself a bit in who he was and what he was going for, and eventually it just turned into this like monster for a very small point in time in the book, at least the way I saw it. And I was like, man, this guy is like, he's supposed to be the hero of the story doing these things, but he starts like torturing these people and like doing these very, very it was almost like the movie Law Abiding Citizen, if you've ever seen that. That's what it reminded me of, which I love that movie. But then he was pulled back to reality to some extent. Amazing ending. And I'm not going to get into the ending, obviously, but I can't recommend this book any more highly than I do. It's a great read. The only negative I have about it, and it's very small, is that there was some head hopping in the narration, the third person close narration, and there was a little bit of head hopping going on that it would sometimes pull me out. But otherwise, the whole story was fantastically done, completely well realized world. Poetry was in there. Andrew, you did a great job with the poetry. Music, I mean, it was just this atmospheric place that you could live in, that you were a part of. One of my favorite movies was they had mentioned in there, The Three Ninjas. And I don't know if anybody knows that movie, but Three Ninjas was a great movie that was in the book. Or it was very small, but I loved it. So there's a lot of cool references in the book. If you haven't already, you've got to go and check out Punishment and Good Deeds by Andrew C. McDonald. It is not only worth your time, but it's worth my time as well. I guarantee this book. It has the Whiteside stamp of approval. I don't wear makeup for just anybody, okay? It's a great book. Please go check it out. Thanks for watching. Honestly Ridiculous Book Reviews with Matt Whiteside. You guys have a wonderful day. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you would, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification for the bell. You know what? We love you. Love you. Love you. You know what?